guys, Brian with SoCo Customs, and we get a couple of questions here all the time in the shop. Are lift kits bad for my truck? Will lift kits ruin my truck? Will they wreck the ride quality? So I'm going to kind of dive into it, but long story short of it is going to be no, it should not change up the ride quality. When it is properly installed, it will not ruin your truck. It will not break things. We do have a couple of tips and tricks to make sure that you are taken care of. Now, to start off from the factory, these trucks are going to be built basically to appease 85% of truck buyers. They're not trying to build a one-off truck that you yourself will enjoy. Even your factory off-road packages like your AT4s, your Rebels, your Tremors, all of those, they are going to be built with maybe improved twin tubes, but they aren't going to be great off-road suspensions. They're basically, again, just trying to make sure that it appeases most truck buyers just straight off the factory floor. Now, in the last 25 years, trucks have become technological marvels. They are no longer just the farm trucks that you're driving up to about 25 miles an hour. They're no longer cold inside. You've got the heated seats, the heated steering wheel, the infotainment systems. They're great commuters. And as a result, they basically have to be able to drive along at 80 miles an hour without any issues. So a lot of these newer kits are going to have to build these kits accordingly to make sure that you are safe throughout all speeds of the truck and make sure that components will not fail. You look at some of the lift kits up to even the late 20th century, and a lot of them kind of seem slapped together, but I can assure you that the new kits are great and very safe. The first tip is that you do have to pay attention to the factory maintenance intervals. So things like shocks and struts, generally they say that those should last about 60,000 miles. So definitely be on the lookout for those. You do still have to adhere to those intervals. It's not just a set it and forget it and a permanent solution. When you're running bigger and heavier wheel and tire sets and you're running heavier components, they can cause certain pieces to wear out a little bit faster. You do have to make sure to kind of keep your eye on it. Think of something like a performance vehicle. Of course, you're going to have to take extra care to make sure that those components are performing their best. Your independent front suspension vehicles are going to wear out things like pitman arms, idler arms. They're going to wear out tie rods. They're going to wear out ball joints even. In my Ram 2500, before I even put the lift on there, I was noticing that I was getting some feathering on my tires. I took those into the Ram dealer and they said it was still within factory tolerances. Basically, it meant that they're not going to warranty that out. They don't really guarantee it. They just say, how broken is too broken before we actually have to fix something. And even as we spend enough time under some of these vehicles like Jeeps, their components are already undersized for what wheel and tire sets they're running from the factory, so you generally run into wear issues. Oftentimes when it comes to these vehicles and those of us that really care about getting the best performance out of our vehicles, wearing parts is kind of an excuse to upgrade. The next tip is to try not to make a Frankenstein kit. A lot of customers say that they want to grab components from this kit over here and mix them with this kit over here, and they're basically just kind of putting things together. Once we get above like a 3.5 inch lift, we're generally getting into where you have to start cutting that cross member, dropping differentials and everything like that. These kits are definitely made to work within the factory angles and the factory tolerances and how these engineers originally made these trucks to kind of perform. So definitely rely heavily on the research and development that the engineers of these aftermarket companies have done, and don't try to put kits together because you know better. They need to make sure that the kits are safe for you to travel in that aforementioned 80 mile an hour range. My third piece of advice is to make sure that everything fits your truck. And this is especially important on your hub-centric rings, your hub-centric spacers. If you are running a spacer, you want to make sure that the pressure is being put on the hub rather than being put on the lug studs, because you can shear those off, lose a wheel and tire, and it's a very dangerous situation for everybody. But even on the smaller side of things, making sure to pay attention to those hub-centric rings that do come in your wheel packages. For example, you'll look at the most common bolt pattern among trucks, which is going to be the 6-on-139 or the 6x5.5. That's generally going to fit most of your Chevys, most of your Rams, most of your Toyota Tacomas. They're going to fit your Broncos and your Rangers and things like that. So you want to make sure that you're using the corresponding hub-centric ring. because if that is vibrating on that hub, then you can wear out that hub bearing in half the time. The next piece of advice is to know your mechanical limitations. It's easy to look at labor prices on a quote and think that you can save yourself a little bit of money there. However, even as a guy that spends as much time as I do in a shop, I quickly can run into my mechanical limitations and dive into something and realize that I'm running out of skill. If you're getting into the 4 and 6 inch lift and beyond, then you probably don't want a crossmember cut to be involved in your first foray into mechanics. Trusting the experts and making sure that it gets done right the first time and in the safest manner possible is definitely a piece of advice that I would give. It's also nice to make sure to go to a shop that has an alignment rack on site. If you're doing it in your driveway and you have miles and miles to drive to get to the shop that is going to align your lifted truck, and on brand new tires, once those wear patterns start, they don't stop. They'll continue to kind of wear in that same pattern. So that's something to be cognizant of. Oftentimes the lift kit is being done pretty close to where I'm standing, and it goes right over there to be aligned, so we're not introducing any new wear patterns in the 30 or 40 feet that it takes to get to the alignment rack. The custom truck market is moving at a rapid pace, and it's moving in a great direction. There are so many people that are diving into the automotive customization lifestyle and really becoming car people, guys and girls. And it's awesome to see, because now the lift kit manufacturers have to be more discerning. They have to make sure that all their products are user-friendly and safe. So it's definitely a great direction, but these are some things to kind of keep an eye on as you do dive into lifting your own vehicle. It's definitely not a scary thing to do. I mean, you go to the dealerships and a lot of them are going to tell you how bad the aftermarket is, which is entirely untrue. All right, guys, Brian, SoCo Customs, give this video a thumbs up, give us a subscribe, give us a follow. We're going to see you in the next video.